We are back to our regularly scheduled programming, and you know what it is. Third Party Thursday. It's my favorite day of the week. We got someone special to come talk about this team that is not so special, but it's okay. It's all right. All right. Hey, we've been through a lot. We're going to get through it together. So join me, join hands. Kumbaya, my Lord. Let's get together. Okay. Boy Green meets Wudi.
Help us get a jet chant here. Go. Come on in. Go. Okay.
Third Party Thursday.
Rich joining us here on the program with a capital P here on the program.
Wow, what an intro. I mean, Boy Green is known for having the intro, but Wudi, that was unreal, man. Thanks for the kind words.
We are men of many names.
My favorite Austrian Jets fan right there, baby.
Boy Green.
It's Wudi. Welcome to Boy Green Meets Wudi. You already know it is James Wudi. We are Wudi, rocking everywhere. All right, you know this man. Okay, he is the boy who became king, Mr. Boy Green, Paul Ezra Jr. himself. And today we got a special guest, okay? Because Third Party Thursday, what we've done this season is bringing somebody from the enemy camp. We're like, let's compare X's and O's. We talk about your teams, all that type of stuff. But it's bye week. So you know what? Forget about all the visitors. We want to talk to somebody. We want to talk to one of our own, all right? New York sports. And who better to talk New York sports than somebody who's been covering New York sports? We talking radio. We talking podcasts. On air, we're talking about New York Post, SNY, CBS Sports, WFAN. The resume goes on and on. This is a man who has legit can be, New York sports own, Jake Brown. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for the great intro. It's crazy resume for someone unemployed right now. You'd think I'd have a job with that good of a resume, but clearly they don't like bald guys. Look at both of us. One got fired, one's laid off, but I have a new job coming soon, so I'll hopefully announce that in the coming week or two. So excited for that. But thanks for having me on. Good to have a non-enemy on a Thursday because everyone's an enemy right now because they're all beating us. We lose every game. So why do you want to talk to the teams that it's a lock that they're going to beat us on Sunday, Monday, and Thursday?
Yeah, that's true. It's got up.
Thursday, I think we're undefeated on Thursday. Is that true?
That's true. Yeah, we're 2-0 on Thursdays. Unfortunately, we've played the last Thursday night game of the year, so no more Thursdays. So we will live and die on that 1,000 batting average for the New York Jets on Thursday Night Football. That's too damn bad, I guess. But here we are.
There's no Friday, even no Black Friday football. The last time we saw that, we saw Tim Boyle throwing the Fail Mary. So I'll pass on Black Friday games.
By the way, let's pour one out for Tim Boyle, who just surged past Daniel Jones on the depth chart. God bless Tim Boyle and his agency and representation. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
It's funny. Daniel Jones just made a speech like minutes ago, and it was one, it sounded like his agent wrote it, but two, it was like someone died. It was really the ending of his Giant era. He did this whole 90-minute, 2-minute written thing. He just got passed over at quarterback, and the guy's writing a speech in a press conference. I mean, New North Jersey football, because when you say New York football, Bills fans get mad at you. North Jersey swamp football is at the bottom of the barrel in the world of football right now. It's really sad.
Well, congratulations to Daniel Jones. I saw today that, he's playing some scout team safety. So apparently his football future is still very much, evolving at this point, the former first-round draft choice. So scout safety for the Giants. There you go. It's Daniel Jones and Jason Pinnock. It's great to see all kinds of wonderful talent back there. That's for sure. God bless. Absolutely. Wudi, why don't you get us started?
I don't even know where to start, man. I mean, like you said, the swamp Jersey football is at the bottom of the barrel. Is there anything, Jake, that you're looking forward to seeing from the Jets this season? Is there anything that you're hoping to see for these remaining How many games is 6 games that you're expecting to see, hoping to see?
I'm looking forward to the clock hitting 0 in the season finale against the Dolphins and the season coming to an end. Listen, I'd like to see some of the young guys. I want to see more Malachi Corley and hope he holds on to the football that 100th yard and to the back of the end zone and then takes the ball to the sideline with him if he ever scores again this season. So I want to see more of him. I want to see Jeremy Rucker catch a ball and not do whatever the heck he did the other day with it. I don't know. That was something literally out of the circus. Like I thought Hugh Jackman and Zac Efron were going to come out and we'd see the Greatest Showman 2 coming from the sidelines at MetLife Stadium. We can't see that. So yeah, I'd like to see young guys, but I don't know. It's almost gotten unwatchable. I'd like to see Ulbrich have a team that doesn't quit the rest of the way because we've already hit the point weeks ago, but now we're in official business decision season. A lot of guys are going to quit. A lot of guys are going to avoid tackles or, avoid getting hurt to make sure they're okay to cash out in the offseason. And I'd like to see if he's got any cojones in him and this coaching staff has any cojones in them to make sure these aren't a bunch of quitters. And as much as fans, we want this team to tank maybe and lose games for a better draft pick. As a football team, as a coaching staff, you got to have some pride and some respect and make sure these guys aren't quitting and getting ready and booking their trips for Cancun and hopefully for their sake winning a few more games because it's been laughable so far.
Well, Jake, it sounds like that's already happened. Connor Hughes reports that several players have already checked out. Their 3-8 record, they're not angry with, they're not embarrassed with. These are the words of Connor Hughes. It just is. They're just like, it sucks to suck for somebody. And they've just checked out. And they apparently have their trips to Cancun. Obviously, we heard about the not nearly as handsome bald guy behind you, about him apparently checking out and looking over your shoulder with that big smile on his face. Apparently, that's another guy who had checked out. So Connor Hughes reporting of all the checked out. That seems to check out when we hear of everything on the energy thing, like Pittsburgh game, season's on the line, Cardinals game, season on the line, and the Jets just continue to not deliver. That seems to lend credence to the Connor Hughes report that so many people have already checked out on this season.
Yeah, and when your owner is giving your GM a reason to check out, it makes sense. He's the GM. Woody Johnson's the GM, the assistant GM. Heck, he got rid of the assistant GM, Rex Hogan, who I think, just my 2 cents, I think it's a combo of Douglas and Rex Hogan as part of this athletic report. I think Rex probably had some bad things to say about the team as well. They kicked him to the curb and he got to talking, whether it was Diana Rossini's line or whoever's line he was in. They were hitting their line. So it's dysfunctional. And when your owner's this dysfunctional, I hope him going to London and doing whatever he's doing with the rich people in London makes a difference. But, his brother, and it's still in the family. It's all in the family. And, Chris is just like Woody. He listens to us. Like, Chris listened to my Jets show. He listened to Gangs All Ear with the Post. So I know he listened. I heard about it. And these guys shouldn't be listening to knuckleheads like me and you and you guys. Like, I'm sorry. Like, we do a good job of what we do. But, obviously they say you listen to the fans, you sit with them. Stop listening to us. We put content out there for Jets fans. We don't put it for the owner to actually listen. And that's a problem if they're actually listening. I think we all have great ideas. We could lay out the coach quarterback roster that could turn into a championship, but we all have 9-to-5s and we do other things. And, we have issues. Like, we shouldn't be listened to by football executives, and that's a problem. I think the Mets have modeled it right. Steve Cohen says, hey, David Stearns, I'm going to give you the money. I'm going to write the checks. I'm going to be a fan and root for this team, but what you say goes, and I'll go with whatever you say. And that's why that model, that structure works. It doesn't work when the ballers want to be players and the players want to be ballers. Well, the owners want, the rapper wants to be player, whatever the saying is. He wants to be the baller. He wants to be the player. He's getting the sauce like chains. He's going the club in the locker room after the game. He's trying to be one of those guys, and you can't. You're just not. You're an old rich man. Do what an old rich man should do and write the checks. Try and hire the right football guys, which you haven't. And if not, form a committee that will. Like, form a former player union of former Jets winning players that will. Sorry, I just went on a tangent there, but it just pisses me off because I don't think it's going to change, guys. I don't think Woody's going to get all these tweets about selling the team and he's going to actually sell the team because these guys have egos. James Dolan isn't selling anything. All these owners that fans hate, they're not selling anything because it makes them rich. People are still going to MetLife Stadium. They are still rich. So they're not going to. And the more you tweet them, sell the team, the less they're actually going to do it.
Old rich white guys. Unbelievable.
I mean, since they do seem to be taking their, football decisions from Jets Twitter, I think that is the best place to try to reach them, right? Try to tell them to sell the team, because that Steve Cohen analogy that you brought up, that's what I keep bringing, right? Is that, there needs to be a change in ownership. Probably won't happen. But would you agree or disagree with the difference in Johnson in charge? So Woody, right? We've already seen him metal. He is Jerry Jones light, or not even Jerry Jones light, Jerry Jones East, right? We'll say that. But Christopher Johnson, right? He brought in somebody that he trusted and pretty much let him do his thing, right? And when things got terrible, he still didn't even really intervene. And of course, that's Adam Gase. Now, he chose the wrong person, but that model of choosing somebody that you trust and letting them run the show, does that give you a little bit more hope that if Woody actually is appointed somewhere in the government doing something for somebody, that Chris can at least appoint somebody, and we just hope he gets it right because we know he won't meddle? Does that give you any additional hope?
Yeah, I mean, Woody not being involved gives me hope, but he's still going to be texting his brother. Like, they're not going to, they're not looking. I don't think like the government is looking into his phones and making sure he's not texting about the Jets. Like, I don't think they're going that deep. I don't know if that's the case, but yeah, I do. And it does seem from what I've heard that Chris is, well liked by the players, and like he doesn't intervene as much. He's not getting the chain. He's not in the spotlight. Woody's on Fox News every week talking whatever he's talking about. Like, you're not going to see Chris Johnson on Fox News. Like, and I think that's important. You don't want the owner in the spotlight like Woody's been. Woody wants to be on page 6, it feels like, where Chris doesn't care about that. So I do think there's a difference there, and it's about getting the right guy in charge, guys. Like, it's about bringing in a culture and a coach in here who's done it before, and that's why everyone's talking about Mike Vrabel, a guy who turned Ryan Tannehill into a decent quarterback, a guy who took a Titans team that probably wasn't worthy of being in an AFC championship, getting to an AFC championship, and bringing in, bite your kneecap kind of coaches like Campbell. Like, I'm not saying you got to say in your introductory press conference, I'm going to bite a kneecap, but you want to coach with cojones. And Saleh looked like blue in the face every time the cameras would show him. He wasn't that clappy kind of coach that you saw with the 49ers. And he's also never did that job before. So when you talk about getting the right coach, it's a guy who's done it. I don't hate the idea of a former player like Aaron Glenn, who had success here, who knows what it's like to play here. I do think we're in an era where, not only are players taking these coaching, the players are taking my jobs. They're taking broadcast jobs. All these, I can't get a broadcast job because Greg Olsen, Gronkowski. Players are taking broadcast jobs and they're taking head coaching jobs. I won't say they're all doing the broadcast job well, but look at the case of the Texans. Former player, well-respected, hard-nosed defensive player. Look how good they are. That is a leader of men and a really good head coach. So I do think that former player model, I know Vrabel's a former player, but Glenn, in terms of being a guy who played for the Jets, Vrabel did not. So I do think there is an element there as well. So you got to bring in the right leader. And then when it comes to GM, like, I like someone who's done it before too. Douglas never really did it. He was a player personnel guy. I know he won a ring with the Ravens, but maybe even one of these assistant GMs. I know the Steelers were a rumored team. I know the Lions, Agnew is a rumored kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would like someone who's been towards the top of that position and has been with a franchise that's won, and not some player personnel guy or the hot coordinator who never played. Like, we've been down that route and it clearly hasn't worked. So I want a pedigree of success coming here, and Woody to shut up and be quiet.
Yeah, we can only hope. Again, we're speaking with Jake Brown, baby. He is the co-host of the Sick Podcast. Now, there is one question here that I think it's pressing on all of our minds, Jake. What is the number one rule of Jets Flight Club?
Yeah, don't mention Jets Flight Club. It's funny because the music actually, whoever did the voiceover, it says Jets Fight Club, and I told them to change it. They never did, but it's worded Jets Fight Club, and I'm like, all right, I guess we'll just keep it at this point in the season.
I see. Well, either way, I think it's the A for effort that counts. Sure, people can check that out. Speaking of Eric Coleman, all these gosh darn former players. Yeah,
taking our jobs.
Yeah,
they're taking our jobs.
He's getting a little uncomfortably close.
Maybe
a restraining order or something. Could be an order there. That may be something to look into. Okay, so you like experience, which again, hey, different strokes, different folks. Whatever you want to put on the dating profile, Jake Brown, I can appreciate that. But what about head coach? Is that another thing you want experience? Do you want a guy who's done it before? Because the Jets have done a lot of whacks of the pinata of guys who have never done it before, and they're getting the first whack.
Yeah, that's why I think Vrabel's got to be the number one candidate, but everyone wants him. You know, I think I don't think the Titans were as good on, I mean, guess like the Jets on paper are great, but they're a bunch of individuals. We could look at that Titans team on paper and say they weren't a great roster, but they were a team. They were played together. They had chemistry, and clearly I would think Vrabel played a factor. Vrabel, and I keep saying cojones, I'll just say balls. Vrabel had balls. Like Vrabel would go for two. Vrabel would do things like riverboat Ron kind of things that make you fall in love with the coach. Dan Campbell does things that make you fall in love with the coach. 4th and goal from the 6, Dan Campbell will go for it because he knows Jared Goff's a badass, and he's got Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's got Jahmyr Gibbs. He's got a good tight end. Like, he's got good players around him, and he trusts his players. A guy who doesn't have balls takes a timeout on 4th and 2 when you try to do whatever they're doing, and then kicks a field goal to go up 5. That's a coach and a team that's got no balls, no heart, and it's a bunch of losers. That's what the Jets are. They're losers. The whole thing is losers, and they need to clean this, have the slate clean from top to bottom. So Glenn, I know, doesn't have head coach experience, but like I said, he's won in New York. He's won as a Jet. He was a beloved Jet. And, he's kind of a hard-nosed guy, and I think he could have success. He's coming from a Lions program that was at the bottom of the league in defense and has gotten them closer to the top of the league, and in terms of record, has them in the top of the league. Like, they are the best team in the NFL with the Chiefs right now. So I do think Aaron Glenn has had a positive impact on the Lions defense and their franchise as a whole. So, you can't put all your eggs in one basket. Mike Vrabel may say, I don't want the headache of being a Jets head coach, failing there, losing there, and then my career maybe being over. So there's going to be a lot of people that don't want to come here. But I'll say this. One, it's still New York. It's the greatest city in the world. It's the greatest place to live. It might be the most expensive, but you got 8 billion things to do every day. It's awesome. Two, you're going to get paid, the Jets tax, like the Steve Cohen tax of the Mets. You're getting the Jets tax you're getting paid more because the cost of living is more here. And two, you got to get paid more because this team sucks. Like, you need to make more money to constitute leaving maybe a good team, like whoever, leaving the Lions, say Glenn, to come to New York to a bad team. So there's the Jets tax, there's the New York tax, and then, there are some players here. Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Quinnen Williams, Quincy Williams, Ahmad Gardner, if he can return to the first-year player that we saw. I'm not calling him sauce. Like, you have some talented players, and maybe it's not the right group and some selfish guys and not some great leaders, but you have actual talent that you can build around. So I don't think this is a roster full of bums. I do think there are some pieces that a coach and a GM could be intrigued by.
The only thing I'll add real quick on Vrabel's, and yeah, let's continue to use the vernacular: balls, testicles, cojones, the family jewels, perhaps.
Testicles is a little aggressive, I think.
Okay. I'm sorry. They always say, Paul, where's the line? I'm like, oh, here? And they're like, whoa. Jesus.
There was a rumor my high school gym teacher was missing a testicle, and that's whenever I think of testicle, I think of him, which is weird. But like,
when a rumor starts, how does the rumor start? Did someone see him changing in the gym room? Said, "Whoa, is there only one ball down there?"
The rumor goes he jumped over like a fence and lost a testicle, but he was also like on I don't know if the U.S. or Australia rugby team. It was a lot of things about him. Coach O, I forget his name, but we
don't have to put him on blast like that.
I don't know his whole name.
With the 1-0.
I won't say the high school now because now you can finally look it up. But It was said he was missing a testicle. So that's
Wow.
why I don't like the word testicle, because of my high school gym teacher.
Yeah, okay. We'll try to avoid that moving forward. But I will say on a guy like Mike Vrabel, who obviously has had success, he's been a head coach before. He took the Titans to the AFC Championship game. As much as in demand as people say he was, like last year, he didn't get a look in terms of he got some interviews, but like nothing. Like there was 7-8 spots like there is every year, and he didn't get a head coaching job. So I'll be kind of curious what happens this time around. But he would be high on my list too. Go ahead, Woody.
I was going to say too, Woody, they say he's a prick, and they say he's kind of the guy he's tough to get along with, and maybe that didn't work with Woody. But if Woody shuts up, I hate to say like shut up and dribble, but shut up in government, we'll say shut up in government or shut up in ambassador. And, his brother says, you got the keys to the city. It might work with Vrabel, but was the reports was that he's a very tough guy and he wants to bring in his own people. So if the Jets say back off and say, yeah, do your thing, that's maybe why he didn't get a job.
And I would say this, that, when the Jets zig and it goes horribly, they like to zag. If they want someone else, Salah, I'm not so comfortable yelling at the players like Mike Vrabel will yell at your grandma if he thinks that it's going to do something. Like if they want to go the complete opposite direction now, the only other opposite is if Vrabel was an offensive guy. But like Vrabel being that hard ass, not afraid to call people out, put them on blast, press conferences on the sideline or anything. Again, for a team that doesn't seem to have their shit together, Vrabel would be a guy that would at least crack the whip and clean that part of it up. I'd love to know who is the yin to the yang, who's the offense he brings in, but Jake Ashman's been bringing up this statistic, this nugget the entire time, that Vrabel has picked 2 Titans offensive coordinators that ended up becoming head coaches in the NFL. So that's got to count for something on his ability to identify an offensive mind.
Definitely. I mean, I'm Team Vrabel all the way. I've used anyone who's watching the show. All right, he was in my top 2. Him and Flores, I think both would kind of bring that mentality. But I want to touch on something that you said before, Jake, about this team being a team of losers, and it's hard to disagree, right? It's hard to disagree. And I remember when Joe Douglas took over, it was like, we got to get this stench out of here. Like this entire roster, all they've ever known was losing. Right. And then you bring in someone like CJ Mosley, who has had success. You bring in certain guys that have had success. Of course, young guys, right? Like when you draft that 2022 draft class, right? They're all coming from programs where they're studs, they're stars. They don't know a lot about losing. Now, years later, their pro careers is all about losing. Who would you identify as players that you think can shake off the stench, that deserve to be here for this next era of Jets? Like, do you think they all have just become so accustomed to losing that they can't shake it off? Because that's what happened the last time we cleaned house. Or do you think there are players that you think can shake off the stench of an L?
Yeah, I think Garrett Wilson's the kind of leader and a guy that you want in this locker room. There's guys that you don't. Ahmad Gardner's a guy you don't want in the locker room. He is worried more about streaming than tackling. And unfortunately, he's more of a streamer than a tackler. And I think that can change, maybe shaking off losing. But, when you are going on Twitter, and we love Matt O'Leary, but when you're challenging Matt freaking O'Leary, redhead, Long Island dude, like talks about the Jets, we're all just kind of losers talking about the Jets. What are you doing? Like, you don't have more important things to worry about than challenging Matt O'Leary? Like, he does an incredible job, Matt. But why are you quote tweeting him over a video calling you out for sucking? That's just immature. It's just absurd. It's insanity. So I hope he can turn around. I hope he can change. But just his whole aura and demeanor and pointing the finger and saying, my missed tackle didn't lose us the game. That's a me guy. And Ahmad Gardner, usually you can't say there's not a me in a guy. There is an ME in Ahmad Gardner. There is a me in Ahmad Gardner. So I worry about him. CJ Mosley, I think might just be finished. It's like every week you expect him to come back and then he's hurt. I do think that's been a big loss for them. I think Jermaine Johnson can be a glue guy if he could come back healthy. I do like his demeanor. I do like what he brings to the table. I think you got to start over at quarterback, and that's where the issue is. You start at quarterback, and I think Aaron he's rotten. You know, I think he is a big part of this. And I know a lot of fans and box score watchers will say he's been fine. He's not a big problem. But it starts with quarterback. When you talk about your team didn't have energy going into the game or at halftime, that falls on you, buddy. Jameis Winston is out here preaching like we're at church on Sunday before games, having me ready to run through a brick wall. And I'm not saying it's about a pregame or a halftime speech, but you know, clearly in that game when he started, brought out the best of the boys. And Aaron has not done that. I think the distractions have gotten in the way. So I think you got to start over at quarterback. And unfortunately, as good as, as much as I say keep Brees, keep Garrett Wilson here, I think Conklin is a good core guy. I do think he is beloved in that locker room. He's a guy I've interviewed before that I really like that. I just think they haven't gotten to the ball enough. I think Rodgers thrived off making tight ends a living, Mercedes Lewis and Jimmy Graham and all these guys, and they have never throw the ball to the tight end. It's like 2 or 3 times a game. I mean, what happened to the middle of the field and getting the ball to tight ends? That's been non-existent. And I think a lot of this, too, is on coaching. You had coaches that coddled players. Look at Campbell. Look at the Texans. They're not coddling their players. They are hard-nosed coaches, and that's what works in today's NFL. And you got to hold guys accountable. Guys aren't going to go out tweeting, responding to Matt O'Leary if they're held accountable. Like, I hate to keep giving Matt a shout out. He does a good job. But, like, they're not going to be calling out Jets content creators on Twitter. That's the kind of coach you want that doesn't have these guys on Twitter calling people out or worried about their next kick stream or their next music video or whatever it is. Like, you got to bring in the right leaders as well. I don't think it's all about the players. It's about the guys you bring in on the coaching staff. And the Jets don't have a good Hackett's not a coach. Like, Hackett is collecting a check to pick his nose in the press box. That's all he's doing. And listen, Downing had the alleged DUI issue. He's not really an offensive coordinator per se. He's more of a passing game coordinator. They have a bunch of guys who aren't really leaders of men or good at their job trying to be coaches. And you could have a Pro Bowl team. You could have the Monstars. You could have Jordan, Pippen. You could have all these greats. But if you don't have the right guys leading them, it doesn't mean jack crap.
Yeah, that's for sure. Let's talk about quarterback. And it's going to be interesting because, apparently in the Athletic report that Woody Johnson wanted to bench Aaron Rodgers after week 4. We haven't heard from Aaron because it's a bye week. He's going to speak Pat McAfee and media locker room session. So I'm looking forward to how he responds to that. But some people have said, boy, now that that's become public, why wouldn't the Jets just make a change now? Because the drama in the locker room that would have been created is already dirty laundry now. Is it Tyrod Taylor time? There's 6 games left in the season. If Aaron's not going to be here next year anyway, Tyrod Taylor's actually under contract for next season. Is it time to see Ty God for the rest of the year, Jake?
Well, before I answer that, it's kind of funny after we were talking about balls and testicles that the 2 guys in the chat right now are Ricky Pickle and David Piccolo. Like, we got balls, pickles, Piccolo. Like, what the hell is going on in the chat right now?
Burner accounts.
Next, we're going to have, like, David, the Johnny Balls is coming up next in the chat. Like, what's going on? I think Rodgers' ego is just too big for him to accept that. I think he'll throw a hissy fit if he is benched, but I think he's very much hurt. He's throwing off his back foot. His throws are not reaching Chad Pennington levels. Like, Chad couldn't throw it far, but man, was he accurate. I'd love to have retired Chad Pennington out there right now. I think Father Time has caught up to him. I think he's playing hurt and doesn't want to sit because he doesn't want to look like a pussy for sitting after what happened last year. And he wants to go out strong. He wants to play through his Netflix thing coming out in a couple weeks. Keep that in the back of your mind. You think he wants to get benched, then be irrelevant when he's got a Netflix thing about his comeback coming out on, I think, December 8th or when? I don't care, but I'll probably watch it because they'll probably be more entertaining than the games are. But you don't think that's in the back of his mind? He's thinking about that. He's like, I want my name in the spotlight while my special comes out. Not as many people are going to watch it as that awful Tyson Paul fight, and it's probably going to be just as disappointing, if not worse. I just hope Aaron Rodgers' butt cheeks aren't out in that special like Mike Tyson. But, I think the ego is going to get in the way. So, yes, I do. The answer is yes. I would rather Tyrod Taylor healthy playing right now. Maybe their thought is, hey, maybe we'll keep losing with Rodgers and get a better draft pick. I actually think a healthy Taylor gives them a better chance to win over a
Wow.
40-year-old injured Aaron Rodgers. And I cannot believe I'm saying that. But if you watch the games and you see the way he's throwing the football, he just doesn't have that deep ball, and he's got no mobility. In today's NFL, you have to have some form of mobility and get outside the pocket. Look at all the great quarterbacks. Mahomes gets out of the pocket, can run. Josh Allen gets out of the pocket, can run. Kyler Murray gets out of the pocket, can run. Name me a team with a quarterback that can't get out of the pocket and run it. For even Geno Smith, he get out of the pocket and run. All the winning teams have a quarterback who may not be the fastest, but have the ability when the time comes to run 10 yards. And the only time Aaron Rodgers did that this year was a penalty. It was a holding. They had to bring it back. And he celebrated that on McAfee. He said, "Oh, that was a great run. Look at my run." Well, it didn't count, you loser. It did not count. So he can't do it. So if he can't do it, it's time to bench him. But he's got too big of an ego. It's not going to happen.
All right, Jake, plug us in before we get out of here. We got 500 people in the room. Make sure you guys like the video, hit subscribe. We appreciate all the support on all our social media portals. This is an opportunity, Jake. Plug and promote whatever you'd like. What do you got cooking?
Yeah, so not a lot, but I might go from 0 jobs to like 4 in a couple weeks. So I can't say them yet because I'm waiting for the offer letter and stuff. And knock on wood, like I've been waiting a little bit here. So, but there is a chance I'm entering kind of the sports card and memorabilia world pretty soon. It's kind of been a booming industry right now, and the podcast world, I'm still going to do that on the side. I'll have Mets Magic going. That's with Sick Media as well. The Mets have brought me so much joy this year. I talked about it on my shows, like. With being laid off and moving from New York, a place I love, the Mets kind of got me through a dark time in my life. And unfortunately, the Jets have brought me back to darkness, just like Aaron Rodgers.
Balance is important. Yes.
Yeah. So, Jets Flight Club, Mets Magic, Jake Brown Radio. I go live on TikTok live at 5:05 every weekday. So come join. I answer everyone's questions. Sometimes we'll have guests. You guys are welcome to come on whenever you want if you're on TikTok. So we have some fun over at TikTok, trying to join the Gen Zers and these kids out there on TikTok, because that's where I hear the streams and the money's at. And then, Jake Brown Radio, YouTube. My hope is I'm moving back to New York in a couple of weeks. So a lot more food reviews once I'm back and fun New York content. And wherever I am in the world, Wudi knows I'm when I was in New York, I'm kind of all over the place. I'm either eating caviar at a horoscope themed bar. I'm at a Knick game, or I'm with Constantine Maroulis from American Idol. So you never know where I'll be on any day of the week. So just stay tuned to social. And I think I'm going to be changing from Jake Brown Radio to a new username soon, because I do think radio is kind of dying off. So there might be a new name. I can't say what the name's going to be because I don't want someone to take it, but there might be a new name. And someone in the chat said caviar, yuck. It's a caviar dip, a French onion caviar dip, and you dip chicken bites into it, and it will change your life from Little Dipper.
Well, I will tell you, one of the things I look forward to, Jake, is seeing your food reviews from all of these different events, and I'm getting the pictures, I'm getting the videos, the intel. I appreciate that. So keep that going, no matter what. With all those other business opportunities apparently laying on, the food reviews are spectacular.
Yeah, well, New York is the home of the best food on the planet, and it's one of the reasons I love New York. The good thing about being away from there is not eating that food as much, and I've been hitting the punching bag in the gym every day, and I'm getting kind of buff right now, and my comeback story is going to be a good one. So the punching bag has this is what I do. I go, Robert Saleh, boom. Aaron Rodgers, boom. Joe Douglas, boom. Woody Johnson, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Woody gets like 6 punches. He gets the 6-punch combo, Woody Johnson.
Wow.
But I'm glad you enjoy the food. Food is always in. So when radio and podcast die, food will still live among us. And I can't wait to get back and, be eating the finest eateries in Astoria and Manhattan and all that brings. And unfortunately, I'll probably end up fatter again and look more like this guy.
Chubby cheeks over here. Yeah.
Thanks for having me, though, guys. Appreciate it. Good to talk to you.
Absolutely, Jake. I've been a fan of yours for quite some time. Following you on all your channels, like you said, all over the place. Following you City Field, Madison Square Garden, wherever you're at. So to finally, connect and be on the show together was a great pleasure of mine. I'm glad we were able to do it. First time, not the last time.
First time, long time. Okay, guys, back after this.
There he is, Jake Brown. Oh, that was awesome, Woody. Great get. Nice job. Good haul in there. And Boy Green Meets Woody, we're back, baby. First full week in the books. Boom, boom. Back in the saddle.
Yes, you ready? You ready? No, back back in the New York groove with it. All right. Boy Green meets Wudi. Yes, we are back to our regularly scheduled program. Yeah, you don't want to miss it. 3:00 Tuesdays, Thursdays. Holla at you boys.
We'll see you then. God bless everybody. Take care.